And we have returned. You're listening to CSC Talk Radio. This is Beth Ann. We've been visiting today with Daniel Turner. We've been kind of all over the board with our conversation. It started out with Nikki Haley and her resignation, which was a shock to most of us. And I think you put it really, I think it's a good thing that it was a shock to us. There's been so much leaking coming from the White House. Maybe that's been stopped. And I'm a little curious about what's going on with the Rosenstein issue and why he hasn't been fired, but I got a feeling there's a lot of talking going on behind those walls. Somebody might be trying to keep himself out of prison. I don't know, but that it's curious.
A lot of moving parts.
Oh my gosh. And, the president seems to be up for it. He seems to be able to handle it all. I mean, I guess that comes from running businesses all his life. But
the very definition of indefatigable. And I want to clarify for your listeners, while we were on break, I was searching the UN's budget. And surprisingly, we only pay 22% of the UN budget, which is still by far the most. The next country after that is Japan, which pays 10%. And then the EU as a whole. The EU as a whole pays about 5%.
Didn't we just recently cut what we paid to them, though?
We did, thank goodness. Yeah, we cut millions.
We could cut a little more and be all right with me.
Exactly.
Well, I know I've heard a good part of my life that if we just quit funding them, they'd be done. So
yeah.
But anyway.
Exactly. We need to cut across the board, but where we don't need to cut is in our energy production, and that's something that is, again, a reason to love this president of just where we are going with energy. I've mentioned this before, but New Mexico, they've raked in an additional $1.7 billion in tax revenue from oil and gas this year. $1.2 billion from direct production, $500 million from land lease sales conducted by the BLM. Their whole state budget is $6.8 billion. So imagine 6.8 and you add an additional 1.7 onto that. And as we've talked about before, Beth Ann, all the people on the left who talk about the poor, the needy, welfare programs, education programs, job training programs, all of those nice ideas someone has to pay for. And where are we going to get that money if we don't have a robust and thriving economy? And it is great to see New Mexico leading the way. Other countries are following. But there are people on the left, and you started your show by saying if they win the House back, they're going to try to shut all of that down, and we will run out of money. And so big reason to fight this November. Absolutely.
I mean, I think that the American people need to, and I think they are waking up. I think this has been kind of a slap in the head, on NCIS, how Gibbs slaps the guy in the back of the head, I think we've had a little slap in the back of the head with what took place with Kavanaugh. We already knew things were corrupt and bad. We've been watching them pick on the president with this Mueller investigation and Russia. But this was dirty. I mean, this was down and dirty. And then we have Pelosi come out and she gives a speech and she tells exactly what they have a plan, with their smear campaigns. You smear it, then you market it, you merchandise it, she said. You merchandise it. I mean, they have it all planned out. And it doesn't matter if it's true or not. I mean, we remember Harry Reid went after Romney and gave a fake accusation against how he paid his taxes or didn't pay his taxes or whatever it was. And when he was questioned about it later because everybody knew it was false, he goes, well, it worked. So that's all they care about is winning, and it doesn't matter how.
He said that with a smirk. Romney didn't win, did he? Yeah. As if that was the goal all along.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I'm glad you mentioned Harry Reid because as you've been following politics for some time, and I have too, I mean, he really is the father of this movement because way back in the height of the war in Iraq and Afghanistan, he would be on the Senate floor calling President Bush a loser and saying that he's a loser president, that we're losing the war. Remember, he and Dick Durbin said our soldiers are overseas committing rape and murder. They started the politics of personal destruction. And President Bush, maybe to his credit, but also to his detriment, never pushed back, right? This is what it meant to be presidential. You let them hit you, you rise above it.
Well,
and then we got President Obama, who did the same thing, get in their faces. If they bring a knife, you bring a gun. We never pushed back. Well, we finally have a president who pushes back.
And, we need to be pushing back. We don't need to get aggressive, but we need to push back. And I said, we're constantly on the defense. We're letting them push us in a corner. We need to stop doing that. Everybody knew that they were lying about this thing with Kavanaugh. Everybody knew it. If you didn't, you're just blind. I mean, it was obvious, and how they went about it. That in itself was obvious, whether they took advantage of Miss Ford or whether she allowed this to become a player in the whole charade. I don't know. But I don't trust her. And her own friends, her own people, came out and said, no, this didn't happen. No, she's not claustrophobic because she doesn't have a problem with flying. And when those started coming out, then I thought, well, how can I believe anything else?
Exactly. Yeah, if you lie about the small things, odds are you're lying about the big things
Absolutely.
too. And these are just little tiny lies that she told that were very, very troubling. Can I make a prediction for your listeners? And
Absolutely.
I hope it doesn't come true.
We're going to write it down.
Something I'm worried about in the energy space. We've got Hurricane Michael barreling down on Florida for the last couple of weeks. Power of the Future has been talking about Florida and their pipeline protests, saying Florida is a hurricane-prone state. Pipelines, for the most part, survive hurricanes, and other forms of energy don't, whether it's railroads or trucks because of roads and bridges. And the mayor of Tallahassee, Florida, who's Andrew Gillum, he's running for governor.
Oh, yeah.
Dyer has pumped millions of dollars into his campaign. Soros has pumped millions of dollars into his campaign. He's the new Barack Obama. He's young, he's African-American, and he's a socialist. So he ticks 3 boxes. And he has made a huge push to turn Tallahassee green. Solar farms everywhere. Well, here's my awful prediction. If Michael keeps its current trajectory, that entire solar farm is gone within about 20 minutes.
Oh, wow.
And now what happens to the citizens of Tallahassee, right? It's what happened with Puerto Rico with their wind energy. I'm not opposed to wind either, but their turbines a year and change after Hurricane Maria have still not turned because they were all destroyed because, unfortunately, renewable does not withstand hurricanes and natural disasters the way fossil fuel energy does. And so my fingers crossed it does not happen. But if the trajectory is right, Tallahassee's in trouble. And all of these green projects that are subsidized by taxpayers, that are more expensive, that also do damage to the environment, are all going to be destroyed. And who's going to suffer? As always,
the people.
The poor.
Now, real quick, because we're about out of time, when is that projected to hit? It's supposed to be Fast and Furious. It's not supposed to hang around, but it's supposed to hit Fast and Furious. When is that supposed to hit?
I think they say it's supposed to hit sometime tomorrow night, which is Wednesday, into Thursday, and then through the weekend. So we'll see. Our thoughts and prayers are with the people of Florida. God hope it doesn't happen. But this is why you need to act like an adult when you're an elected official and make energy policy that is good for the people and not good for George Soros or Tom Steyer or Michael Bloomberg, who are not going to suffer the consequences.
And we're out of time. We'll see you on Friday. You'll be back on Friday for a little bit and give us another report. Thank you so much, Daniel, and we hope that you're wrong on this. We hope you're wrong on the prediction, and we hope that hope that hurricane dies out before it hits land. I don't know that it will. But anyway, thank you so much. You've been listening to CSC Talk Radio. We've been visiting with Daniel Turner of Power of the Future. It's time for the people to take power of the future and bring America home.